I'm Paul Sugarman of the Instant Shakespeare Company, and today we are presenting the Shaw Project, presenting Midsummer Madness. And so over to David Cedar, the head of the Shaw Project.
Well, I thought since we're right in the middle of very close to Midsummer, that we should do a program celebrating that this afternoon with three short farces. One of them, of course, by Shaw, the Fascinating Foundling, which he himself called a tomfoolery. So then we have a Gilbert piece, A Colossal Idea, one of his lesser known one acts. And then we have a piece by Madison Morton, who was a very popular writer of comic plays during the Victorian era. If you're at all familiar with Box and Cox of Sullivan and Burnand, that is an adaptation of one of Madison Morton's farces, which was originally called, Cox and Box. The Madison Morton was called Box and Cox, so they just switched it around. So let's get started with the Fascinating Foundling. It is morning. It is the office of the Lord Chancellor of England. There is a door on the right leading to his private rooms near the fireplace. The door on the left leading to the public staircase. Mercer, an elderly clerk, is seated at work. Enter to him through the public door Horace Brabazon, a smart and beautiful young man of 19, dressed in the extremity of fashion with a walking stick.
I want to see the Lord Chancellor.
Have you an appointment?
No.
Then you can't see the Lord Chancellor.
I tell you, I must see him.
I tell you, you can't. Look here, do you think the Lord Chancellor's a palmist or a hair doctor that people can rush in out of the street and see him whenever they want to?
That speech was meant to insult and humiliate me. I make it a rule to fight people who attempt to insult and humiliate me. Put up your hands.
Here, you let me alone. You leave this office, do you hear, or I'll have the police in on you.
You're face to face with your destiny, and your destiny is to fight me. Be quick. I'm going to begin. No, don't look pale. I scorn to take you by surprise. I shall lead off with my left hand to your right eye. Put him up.
I ain't going to fight you. Let me alone, will you? I said nothing to you.
Liar and slave, fight! I tell you, fight!
Oh, was there ever the like of this? Don't make such a noise.
I'm making it on purpose. I want you to fight because it'll make more noise than anything else. The Lord Chancellor will come to see what the noise is about, if only it's loud enough. Time!
Oh, would you come near me and I'll split your head open with this poker. I will.
Lay on, Macduff, and damned be he that first cries, hold, enough!
Yeah, what's this? Who is this gentleman?
The Lord Chancellor, good. Hence, horrible shadow, unreal mockery, hence. My lord, I have called on professional business in the matter of Brabazon and infant.
If you are a solicitor, sir, you must be aware that this is not the proper way to approach the court.
I approach you as the father of all orphans in Chancery.
Sir.
Don't fly out. I'll explain everything. You remember the matter of Brabazon, an infant? Come now, frankly, as man to man, you do remember the matter of Brabazon, an infant?
There is such a case, I believe.
Of course there is. Well, I'm the infant. I'm Brabazon. I call thee Hamlet, king, father, royal dame. Wilt thou not answer me?
You are young Horace Brabazon, are you?
Yeah, I am, my lord. Such is life.
You are a ward of the court, and you have systematically disobeyed every order the court has made in your case.
The orders were unreasonable, fatuous, in fact.
Sir.
Let me explain. One of the orders was that I was to go into the church.
Well, at your own desire.
Exactly. I should not have been indulged. I was too young. How did I know what was good for me? Now, I put it to you, as one man to another. Do I look like an archbishop?
Stuff, sir.
As you say, nothing could be more idiotic. You ought to have known better. No, the church is not in my line. Nature intended me for the stage. The unreal mockery here was practicing Macduff with me when you came in. And now, what I want to know is, can you get me an engagement? As your ward, I have the right to expect that of you. You must know lots of people who could give me a start. There's another thing, very important. By the way, won't you sit down? Excuse me keeping you standing all this time. Macduff, a chair?
You are too good, sir.
Don't mention it. Well, you know, I want some good home influence to steady me. You see, you can't steady me. You're too much occupied here in your shop, and besides, you may shake a loose leg yourself occasionally for all the public knows, eh? And even if you are virtuous, I should probably lead you astray. No, what I want is a wife. Not a young woman, you know. Someone old enough to be my mother, say 30 or so. Oh, I adore a mature woman. Not old enough to be your mother, you understand? Old enough to be my mother. I attached some importance to that distinction, so be good enough to bear it in mind. One mustn't overdo these notions.
Mr. Mercer, will you be good enough to make a careful note of this gentleman's requirements? An engagement at a leading theatre to play Macbeth, and a wife of quiet habits and grave disposition. Anything else, Mr. Brabazon?
Oh, nothing today, thank you. And now I know better than to take up the time of a busy man. Happy to have made your acquaintance. So long. Ta-ta, Macduff.
What do you mean by letting this lunatic in, Mr. Mercer? I'm extremely annoyed.
I didn't let him in. He came in. I was keeping him from you at the risk of my life when you came in to ask me what the noise was.
My faithful Mercer.
My honored master.
We were happy together until this man came between us.
Let us try to forget him, my lord. My lord, he has left his walking stick behind. He will return for it. Let us fly.
Nonsense, Mercer. We have no aeroplane, and if we had, we shouldn't know how to use it. Hark, a visitor at the door. Tell him we have both gone out.
Useless, my lord. He is a man of strong reasoning powers. He would conclude on hearing our voices that we were both within.
Is anybody there? Let me in.
That is the voice of a young and probably beautiful woman.
It is, my lord.
Then why the dickens did you open the door instead of striking melodramatic attitudes? How dare you keep the lady waiting? I'm very much annoyed.
I'm sorry, my lord.
Is this the Lord Chancellor's?
Yes.
Sir Cardonius Washington's?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you the Lord Chancellor?
No, ma'am. Leastwise, not yet.
What are you?
I'm the Lord Chancellor's...
Secretary?
Well, hardly that, ma'am. If you ask me, I should say I am sort of what you might call a clerk, a valet to his lordship.
Are you a gentleman?
Well, that's a poser, miss, really. I'm, in a manner of speaking, a gentleman.
In what manner of speaking are you a gentleman?
Well, miss, I'm a gentleman to my tobacconist. Every man is a gentleman to his tobacconist. The parliamentary candidate for Hornsey always addresses me as a gentleman. But then he ain't particular, leastway, not at election times. You see, miss, there are 3 classes of gentry in this country.
Only 3?
Only 3, ma'am.
How do you tell one from the other?
You tell by the railway porters, miss. The real upper class give them a shilling, the upper middle class 6pence, and the lower middle 2pence. I give 2pence myself.
And which particular class of gentlemen is it, pray, that gives the lady a chair?
Oh, I'm sorry. I beg you pardon, miss.
Thanks. And now, Will you be good enough to tell Sir Cardonius Washington that Miss Anastasia Williamy wishes to see him?
Miss Anastasia Vulimy, my lord, to see you.
Do you mean to tell me that this old man in livery is the great chancellor?
At your service, Miss Williamy.
Quite impossible. I have here an article on Sir Cardonius headed Our Great Chancellor, and the description does not correspond in the least. No man of our time has succeeded in tempering the awe inspired by a commanding stature and majestic presence with a love and confidence which even the youngest and most timid ward of the court feels at the sound of his kindly voice and the encouraging beam twinkling with humor of his tender grey eyes. Do you mean to tell me that is you?
It is not for me to say how far the description is an accurate or happy one, madam, but I believe I am the person intended by the writer.
Perhaps you'd recognize this better, miss. Sir Cardonius and me is on opposite sides in politics.
How much longer will the nation allow this despicable pantaloon to occupy the woolsack? What's the woolsack?
What the Lord Chancellor sits on in the House of Lords, miss.
Whose contents only too strongly resemble those of his own head. Oh, that's a nasty one, you know, isn't it? Means your brains are woolly, doesn't it?
Its meaning is entirely beneath my notice. I am surprised, Mercer, to find you in possession of the scurrilous rag of this character. We may differ in our opinions, but if any paper taken in by me were to speak of you in such unbecoming terms, I should never open it again.
Well, my lord, politics is politics, and after all, that is politics if it isn't showing up the other side. When I pay a penny for a paper, I've a right to get value for my money, the same as any other man.
But I don't understand. Are you a despicable pantaloon? The other paper says your name will be cherished by the warm hearts of the English people, where Eldon and Sir Thomas More are forgotten. I thought that whatever was in the papers must be true. How do you explain being a great chancellor and a despicable pantaloon at the same time?
I take it that the excellent journal from which you first quoted has put all considerations of party aside and simply endeavored to place before you a dispassionate estimate of such modest services as I have been able to render to my country. The other paper gives you nothing but the vituperative ravings of an illiterate penny-a-liner blinded by party politics.
You should never read more than one paper, miss. It unsettles the mind, let alone the waste of a penny.
Well, it's a great relief to me to hear that the great chancellor paper is the right one. You think I may believe everything it says?
I trust I shall not disappoint any favorable opinion you may have founded on it.
It says here that though you are stern with the worthless and merciless to the impostor, yet your mature wisdom and unparalleled legal knowledge are freely at the service of all deserving persons, and that no distressed suitor has ever been turned empty away from your door.
That refers to my private house, madam. I don't keep food here.
I have a sandwich for my lunch, miss. Sooner than send you empty away, I would give it to you, miss, most joyfully.
I ask not charity, but justice.
Madam, I must request you to speak like a lady and not a procession of the unemployed. The House of Lords always gives charity and never gives justice.
And the House of Lords will find itself unemployed one of these days, if you ask me.
Silence, Mercer. Have the goodness to keep your radicalism to yourself in the presence of this lady.
Why do you allow your clerk to be a radical?
Well, madam, to make him a conservative and an imperialist, I should have to raise his salary very considerably. I prefer to save money and put up with a radical.
You'll excuse me asking you all these questions, but as I've decided, after what the paper says, that you are the man to advise me and be a father to me, it's very important that you should be quite all right, isn't it?
But it's not my business to be a father to every young lady who walks into my office.
Not your business? Why, Whitaker's Almanac says you get £10,000 a year. You don't get paid for nothing, I suppose. By the way, Whitaker doesn't say how much you get.
I get 150.
150 into 10,000 goes about 66 times. Why does he get 66 times as much as you? Is he 66 times as good?
He thinks so.
I set up no such ridiculous pretension, Mercer.
Perhaps you're 66 times as sober. How much do you drink every day?
I am almost a teetotaler. A single bottle of Burgundy is quite sufficient for me.
Oh, then I suppose you drink 66 bottles of Burgundy a day.
66 bottles of Burgundy a day on 150 a year, not me. It hardly runs to beer on Sundays.
There must be something awfully wrong about you, if you only get 1/66th of what he gets.
No matter. Mercer is an excellent man in his proper place.
Then there must be something awfully right about you.
I hope so.
I don't see the difference myself.
He's better fed.
Is he? I should have thought he was too red about the nose to be quite healthy. It's the Burgundy, I expect. However, I didn't come here to talk about you two. Call it selfish if you will, but I came to talk about myself. The fact is, I'm an orphan. At least I think I am.
Don't you know?
No, I was brought up in a way, in what you might politely call a sort of public institution. They found me on the doorstep, Might have happened to anybody, mightn't it?
And you have the audacity to come here and talk up to us as if you was a lady? Be off with you and be ashamed of yourself, you hussy.
Gently, Mercer, gently. It is not the poor girl's fault.
Her fault? Why, she, anybody's daughter. She's only an offspring.
Perhaps I'm his daughter, my lord.
Oh, you wicked girl. Oh, you naughty story, you. Oh, that I should have lived to have this accusation brought against me. Me, a respectable man.
I had a feeling the moment I saw you.
The voice of nature. Oh, Mercer, Mercer.
I'll have the law on you for this. I will. Oh, say you don't believe her, my lord. Don't drive me mad. Say you don't believe her.
I can't disregard the voice of nature, Mercer. The evidence against you is very black.
Me, the father of a common girl found on a workhouse doorstep?
Oh, how dare you presume to say such a thing? A workhouse doorstep, indeed. I was found on the doorstep of one of the very best houses in Park Lane.
My dear young lady, how can I apologize?
I'm sure. I beg your pardon most humbly, miss.
Forget the rudeness of my clerk. He knows no better. Resume your seat, I beg.
If I had only known Miss Park Lane, oh, I could bite my tongue out for my bad manners, I do assure you.
Oh, say no more. Of course, you could not have known my social position.
Oh, don't say that, miss. You have a Park Lane in every feature.
In your manners.
In your accent.
Your tone.
Address.
Je ne sais quoi.
Tout semble.
You speak French.
Oh, not a word, miss, but at the sight of that hat of yours, the French fairly burst out of me.
You are very good.
Oh,
Don't mention it.
Don't begin again. I forgive you both. Now, attention. I'm a good-hearted but somewhat flighty girl, and I require some serious interest in life to steady me. As I had an ungovernable appetite and was naturally rather inclined to be stout, I tried politics. For you, a man, politics meant the House of Lords. For me, a woman, politics meant Holloway Jail and the hunger strike. I refused to take food until I was so frighteningly hungry that when the governor, who was a plump, chubby, tempting sort of man, came into my cell and remonstrated with me, I attempted to devour him.
pardon me. I thought you suffragist labs prided yourselves on acting always on principle. On what principle, may I ask, do you justify an attempt to devour an estimable public official?
On the cat and mouse principle, my lord. That is a part of the law in England.
Never. Not when the woman is the cat.
May I ask, madam, what the unfortunate mouse did on this occasion?
He got quite angry and said he wouldn't have me in his prison another minute, not if I went down on my knees and begged him to let me stay. Of course, I refused to go, but I had to let the poor man have his way at least, though it took 10 wardresses to persuade me to do it. I left them simply in ribbons, poor things. Prison made a great change in me. Before I went in, I felt a great want of something to love. But when I came out, I felt nothing but a great want of something to eat. There were 2 public houses near the prison. One had a placard up sausage and mashed, the other sandwich and small Lloyd George. I visited both in succession and had 2 goes of each delicacy. Then I drove to the Holborn restaurant and had a 5-shilling lunch, stopped at 3 Pearson Plenties on the way to sustain exhausted nature. At the Holborn, they refused to serve me with a second lunch, so I went to the Carlton. Of my subsequent experiences at the Savoy, Pagani's, Rochetti's, Gatti's, 5 big potato men, and a coffee stall, I shall say nothing. Suffice it, that when at last the craving for food was stilled, the craving for love returned in all its original force. I felt I must have something to cherish, to sacrifice myself for. You no doubt hold that self-sacrifice is a woman's chief amusement.
Certainly I do.
Any man would. Well, what was I to love? My friends recommended marriage, a man, in fact, but I hesitated to rush at once to so expensive and troublesome an extreme. I tried a pet dog, but when he had been stolen for the 6th time by the man I bought it from, I refused to pay any more rewards, and we were parted forever. I tried a cat, but its conduct was so disreputable that I could not live in the same house with it. I adopted the orphan child of a crossing sweeper who was run over, but when its aunt had learned that I had no parents, she would not permit it to stay. Glad as I must confess I was to get rid of the little beast, my starved heart still ached. My empty arms still longed to gather some beloved object to my breast.
If I could be of any service, madam.
You are married, are you not?
Yes, I am married.
I'm sorry, miss, but so am I. Still, a divorce would be a matter of only £80 or so if we made it a fairly straight case.
Never shall it be said that Anastasia Vulimy built her happiness on the ruin of another woman's home. There are younger and handsomer men than you, my lord. There are more genteel characters than Mercer. Neither of you, if I may be allowed the expression, is precisely what I should call a peach. And I want a peach. He must be a young peach. Not that I am to be seduced by the fleeting charms of smooth cheek and slim figure, but it's a necessity of my position as a woman that I should marry someone whom I can bully, because if a woman cannot bully her husband generally bullies her. You, my lord, you can find me a young and foolish man. Into my arms, under my thumb, let him come, let him come. Oh, I fear I'm almost dropping into poetry, but the tumult of my emotions carries me away. I implore you not to keep me waiting. My soul is thrilling as it never thrilled before. My arms are longing as they have never longed before. And my heart is beating as it never beat before. Every nerve in my body, every fiber in my heart.
Excuse me, I left my stick, I think.
He has come! He has come, the very thing I want!
Quite out of the question, my dear lady. Sir Cardonius will tell you that you are too young, too irresistible, and too impulsive to be anything more to me than an extremely agreeable object of contemplation, and a charming hostess. With that object, may I venture to propose a marriage to you?
Oh, silly. That is exactly what I am proposing to you.
Not marriage to the same person, I think. You, as I understand it, propose to marry me? I propose that you should marry one of my friends. Then you can invite me to your house and put on your best company manners for my benefit, and he will have the privilege of paying for your hats and enjoying your no company manners.
My lord, this man has a giant intellect.
It will avail him as little as if he were the biggest fool in creation. Young man, you are lost. I argued as you do. I tried to get out of it.
I moved all the way from Gospel to Islington to escape, but it was no use.
Beware how you anger her. By showing any reluctance. Remember, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
What's the good of that nowadays? When that was written, a woman would take no for an answer, but she won't now.
You will begin walking out with me at once. You are only on approval, of course, but if you suit, you may consider next Friday, 3 weeks, named as the day.
Yeah, but where does the merit come in for me? Where is the moral discipline? Where is the self-sacrifice? You are an agreeable person. To marry you would be an act of pure selfishness.
So you think now, dearest? You won't think that in a year hence. I'll take care of that for my own boy.
Yes, but look here. Have you got any money?
Not a rap.
Oh, and you expect to get a slave for nothing?
Oh,
Oh,
richer than you think, darling. It's true that I'm a poor, penniless orphan. Doesn't that touch you?
Not in the least.
Thoughtless boy. Have you forgotten that the women who have money always belong to some family or other?
Well,
Well, a family means relations. You can't call your house your own. The brothers always borrow money. The sisters come and stay for months. The mother quarrels with your mother.
A gospel truth, every word of it.
Undeniable.
I, my love, am not perfect. I am a weak woman. I have nothing to cling to but your love, nor any place to be. Nor any place to rest except your very becoming fancy waistcoat. But at least I'm a foundling.
a foundling.
I haven't a relation in the world.
Mine, mine, mine.
And curtain. Okay. Let's take till 25 of 2.
Well done, everyone. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a delicious taste. Totally silly. Christina? Just disappeared for a moment. I'm just wondering if.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, is your sound up full?
As far as I know, I don't know what the problem is. I Zoom all the time and I don't have issues.
Well, maybe it's just the gremlins today then that are out again.
I don't know. I was hearing it fine, I thought. I don't know.
I can hear you fine too.
Maybe,
Okay.
maybe
I turned my input volume up just a touch.
maybe my system has gremlins.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just have to step away for one quick second.
I'm sorry. Maybe my system has gremlins today. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm having a lot of trouble with my computer.
Yeah, it's true. It's like all of these things we had, and I mean, it always seems to be something with the technology, but it does allow us to get together and to see Drew, who's out in California. So.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
always good.
Thank you. Hey, I'm coming your guys' way. I'll talk to you about it when we're no longer on YouTube. But
Oh yeah. Oh, it's very funny. It's like stopping the recording does not stop the live stream, as I think you realize.
yeah,
You didn't stop the live stream because it's very good, and I'm very glad it all worked out last time when I had to sort of start the reading from the back of a car.
yeah.
But that was fun, and it's good. I've got on the YouTube channel. I've got to update the things because I've got like a list for the Shaw Project because you guys have done a lot of readings now. So
Awesome.
it's great.
Well, it certainly has been a lifesaver since COVID to be
Oh, yeah.
able to do these. It's and especially because so many people left town,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so you can, I mean, I love that we can do a reading with somebody in Britain and somebody in France and somebody in California and somebody, and a bunch of other people in New York or New Jersey or Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have to commute.
Yeah.
And the update of the Zoom, which seems to happen every time you want to use it for something.
It does. Every day, it seems.
But yeah, it's like, oh, it must update, and it's like when
Yes, all the differences I can tell every day. Every update makes a big difference.
Yeah, I
Oh, Drew, have you heard my latest?
Huh? Pardon?
I say, have you heard my latest news?
No. What is your latest news?
Well, as of yesterday, I am now on the board of directors for VHS.
Oh, I did hear this news, but I didn't. You were going to the meeting last time I had heard from you.
Yeah, yesterday was the meeting. So I'm officially on. That and what is it? 2:35 or something will get me on the subway. So, but it's a nice honor.
Well, here's
and-
to you.
yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. Here's a water bottle of
Yes,
cheers.
yes, cheers. Cheers. Congratulations. That's great.
Nice.
Paul, did you get my news about Jennifer?
I don't know if it was this morning. I haven't checked.
Perhaps I didn't. Perhaps I didn't send it to you. Virginia Thomas has had to drop out. So I offered that to Jennifer.
Oh, cool. Thank you. That's good. Yeah, because she's usually participating from Texas, but will be around. I think she's
Living down Texas.
Boston and such. So, but yeah, that will be fun. The Shrew in person next week at the
Yes.
Columbus Library, which is
Yeah. Nice.
nice on Upper West Side, and of course not on. Of course, you'd think the Columbus Library would be on like Columbus Avenue, but it's on 10th Avenue.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a royal pain to get to, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we are also, though, reaching out, and I mean, we're going to actually be doing some readings in Brooklyn as well. At the one of the people who'd been a librarian at one of the New York Public Library where we've done readings reached out to me about doing one in Brooklyn. So
That's a nice library.
Oh, very nice.
I've been out there a couple of times. In fact, I think, I don't know under what auspices, I can't remember. We did a reading of Trelawney of the Wells. I think it was there.
Oh,
This is long time ago. Way back in the early days of the Shaw Project or something.
We did Trelawney of the Wells for one of your birthdays.
Yes,
Yeah, that was fun.
I love that play.
Yeah.
There's also a musical version of it by Julian Slade, I think it is.
Oh, interesting.
Life musical. Is it
That's
Julian
cool.
Slade or is it? It's the same ones who wrote. Same ones who wrote a couple of other things there. Salad Days. So.
Oh, okay.
Same person who wrote that.
mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
trap. You don't know it. Very British.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I mean, it's a
Well-
pattern. We can get started, I guess. Okay. Colossal idea. We are at a seaside resort, and we are in, actually, it's Margate, yes, a pleasant sitting room in a Margate lodging house, nicely furnished. Doors center and right, bow window left, tables right, sofa left. On the table, there are 3 soda water bottles, light subdued as from blinds drawn down.
Mr. Yellowboy do seem uncommon bad today.
Oh, indeed. Poor little fella, indeed he does. Ah, Anna Maria, you can form but little idea of what real brain work is. It eats and eats and eats away the most powerful intellect and utterly undermines the constitution of the most robust.
Oh man, it's awful. That's what I says to my Frederick. I says, Frederick, I says, carrying coals chock full of rubbly ones from a cart to a coal hole, and even them rubbly ones down is work, says I. And so it is, but it isn't to be mentioned in the same breath with the sitting up o' nights, writing and composing the Encyclopedia Britannicas. No more, it ain't that, no.
It's a different sort of thing, Anna Maria, altogether. Oh, there is something truly grand, truly noble in the idea of perishing over so gigantic a work. If I could reconcile myself to the idea of selecting a final exit for my beloved yellow boy, I do believe that death from sheer exhaustion brought about by intense application to his forthcoming work, the 123rd edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica, would be the one which of all other ends I would select for him.
Oh, ma'am, but if Mr. Yellowboy was to die,
Anna Maria,
if Mr. Yellowboy was to die,
if anything were to happen to Mr. Yellowboy, you mean?
well, ma'am, if anything was to happen to Mr. Yellowboy, I'm sure you'd never get over it.
Oh, no, Anna Maria, I don't think I ever should. Yet night after night and week after week, I allow the dear little man to sit up until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, slaving in his little study at his enormous undertaking. He can never begin to write until about 10, when I retire to rest. And then he locks himself in, and from 10 at night to 3 or 4 every morning, it's nothing but fag, 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 work, work, work at those noble volumes until his pen drops from his hands, and when at last he does contrive to drag his exhausted body from his beloved books, he's in such a state of physical prostration that he's really unable to walk upright, and then he rolls about the room in so extraordinary a manner and says such ridiculous things that anybody who didn't know him well would think he was tipsy. I'm sure the other lodgers must think so.
Yes, especially when they hear him singing, "For I'm bound to go, whole hog and on," at 4 o'clock in the morning, beating time on the floor with his patent book jack.
Knowing as I know, as you know, Anna Maria, that his occasionally eccentric behavior is brought about solely by his incessant brain work, I care very little for the ribald opinions of the second floor.
Yes, and as I says to my Frederick, I says, "Frederick," says I, when he's awful bad with beer, you haven't got to call for to go get yourself in with discredited conditions, for yours is not head work," says I, "nor never will be, though muscle it do require and muscle it have got. But Frederick to me," he says, "Anna Maria," says he, "if the balancing of a couple of hundred weight on the back of my skull ain't head work, you do leave out his H's awful we do. Why, I should like to know what is, and there's where it is, and that's all about it."
Fortunately, as Mr. Yellowboy is a professed teetotaler, his friends would never think of attributing these distressing symptoms to intoxication. He drinks literally nothing.
So soda water, mum. He's had 3 bottles this morning.
Soda water is not forbidden by the terms of his pledge. Just run upstairs with my new rifleman jacket and put it into my private cupboard. And mind you lock the door and bring me the key, as I should be very sorry to let Mr. Yellowboy know that I'd been so extravagant as to treat myself to another jacket, and out of the housekeeping money too. But it did look so lovely in Bailey and Potter's shop window in Oxford Street, and Ellie couldn't resist the temptation.
Well, mum, it is a beauty. Lovely, and what it do look, no mistake. Looks as if it broke out in braid all over, don't it, mum? I'm quite sure Master would never be angry if he only saw it. Eccentricity is genius, it is. Well, I dare say it's only it looks to me as a good deal more like drunk than incapable.
Oh dear. I'm afraid it's very wrong of me to have a secret from my dear yellow boy. I declare I'll tell him all about it this very morning. Ah, I hear him moving in his room. He's getting up. I'll run and get Lady Audley's secret and read to him. He will like a little light reading after his colossal labors. I won't be a minute.
Oh, what an awful headache. Oh, that seductive little shepherdess, that still more seductive pink champagne. Oh, that deceptive débardeur in the green velvets. What in the world do you call them? And that confounded volunteer, the music, the dancing, the supper, the chandeliers, the tough fowls, the dust, the heat, the ices, and waiters revolving about in my unfortunate head like the spokes of a gigantic Catherine wheel. Oh, oh, that débardeur. After paying an exceedingly exorbitant price of my own admission within the gate of the Tivoli Gardens, the deceptive débardeur, discovering at the last moment that she had left her purse at home, turned to me, attracted no doubt by my imposing appearance as Richard Coeur de Lion in a complete suit of chain armor, £2.10, and implored me to pay for her ticket. Well, I'm not ashamed to own I yielded to her entreaties, and tucking her under my arm, we strolled into the garden together. Scarcely had I passed 10 minutes in her society when, catching a glimpse of a malignant and turbaned rifleman, all mustachios, cock's feathers, and braid, with whom it appeared she was already acquainted, she slipped from under my arm and joined him, and then both trotted away and ready to burst with laughter. However, shortly after, I was consoled by an introduction to my bewitching little Watteau shepherdess, all chintz and crooks and curls and ribbons, with a little hat about her, about as big as a 5-shilling piece on her head. Well, in the society of my little Watteau shepherdess, I soon forgot my deceptive débardeur and spent a most delightful evening, my wife laboring under the mistaken idea that I was busy in my study with my colossal work, the 123rd edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica. That hypothetical work has afforded me about 4 nights out every week for the last 12 months. Oh, it's a colossal idea. The only thing I fear is that she will someday or other want to see the MS of my work. That will be awkward, and I don't quite see my way out of that. I'm disposed to think that my study will catch fire, and if such a calamity should happen, I'll bear the blow like a Newton.
Oh, my dearest Wellington, I'm so glad to see you sitting up. And how is its own little headacheums?
Its headacheums is better, a little better, my dear, though not quite the thing yet.
Oh, my dear Wellington, what a heroic martyr you are to the noble cause to which you have devoted yourself. Have you made much progress in your gigantic work?
Pretty well, my dear. I'm got to letter S.
Yes, dear. And what articles did you occupy yourself with last night?
Why, shepherdess, sherry, sandwiches, salads, soda water, soft nothings, and Sir Roger de Coverley.
He's left out champagne. Please, there's a note for you, and there's a party waiting for an answer.
For me? Ah, from Mrs. Balderby. My dearest Amelia, will you come and spend an hour or two with me this morning? I saw you on the beach the other morning, walking with such a duck of a rifleman. How shocking this sounds, doesn't it? And I want you to drive over to Ramsgate with me, as I intend to pick up just such another. There are plenty of them about. Oh, of course, Mr. Yellowboy knows nothing. Ever your devoted Sarah Ann. Well, they say imitation is the sincerest flattery. And if I go, I ought to feel highly gratified at Sarah Ann Balderby's behavior, for she imitates me in everything. But how she can imagine that what suits me must necessarily suit her, who is as figureless as a broomstick, I can't understand.
Who writes, my dear?
Oh, it's only Sarah Ann. She wants me to call on her.
Oh, let me see the note, darling.
I'll read it to you. My dearest Amelia, will you come and spend an hour or two this morning? I saw you on the beach the other day walking with your devoted Sarah Ann.
Amelia, don't talk confounded nonsense. Let me see that letter.
Wellington Yellowboy, you are making yourself contemptibly ridiculous.
Ma'am, give me that note. Mrs. Yellowboy, I am not to be trifled with. When I said give me that note, I did not mean put it away in your right-hand pocket.
Oh, cruel Mr. Yellowboy. And before the servant, too.
Oh, don't mind me, ma'am. As I says to Frederick, I says, Frederick, says I.
Go about your business.
No, I don't say that. I say is,
She's waiting for an answer to Mrs. Balderby's note. Say I'll come in 10 minutes. Mr. Yellowboy, I had intended to spend the morning with you, but as you make yourself so preposterously ridiculous, I shall spend it with Mrs. Balderby.
Oh, very good, ma'am, very good. So it was for Mrs. Balderby, was it? Oh, I've no doubt it was. Never mind. I'll have my revenge. I'll work at the encyclopedia all day as well as all night. For the future, I'll be deceptive. I'll be dissipated. I'll be Hello, what's this? Why, it's the Balderby correspondence, by all that's fortunate. Now, Mrs. Y, now for the disclosure. Stop, Wellington, Yellowboy. What are you about to do? Reflect, Wellington, on the step you are going to take. If you read this accursed piece of paper, it may have the effect of embittering forever the future of yourself and your beautiful Amelia. Ponder, Yellowboy. Unread, you are boundlessly happy. Read, you may be made utterly miserable. Will you act the part of the noble and generous husband, the trusting gentleman, the unsuspicious man of honor who believes his wife to be as innocent as himself, who would look upon the act of prying into letters of his Amelia with scorn unutterable? Will you play this worthy part? No, you will not. What's this? I saw you walking on the beach this morning with such a duck of a rifleman. Ha ha ha! So, Mrs. Yellowboy, the secret's out at last. You walk on beaches with ducks of riflemen, do you? And in the morning, too, when your poor Wellington is safe in bed endeavoring, but in vain, to snatch a few minutes' repose from the overwhelming labors of his night before. This explains everything. Her hesitation, her confused look, with such a duck of a rifleman. How shocking that sounds. Well, I quite agree with you, Mrs. Balderby. Candidly, I think it does. It verges remotely on the extreme limits of indiscretion, not to say indelicacy, Mrs. Balderby. I want you to go to Ramsgate with me, as I intend to pick up just such another. Oh, do you, Mrs. Balderby? Very good. You're a widow, Balderby, and may, of course, have as many ducks of riflemen dangling after you as your aged heels as you can pick up, as you call it. I've nothing to do with that. That's the riflemen's lookout. I pity them, poor devils, wherever they are, but that's neither here nor there. But stop, Wellington. You are hasty. Read the note once more, carefully this time, and see if you can't place another interpretation on those mysterious words. Stretch a point, yellow boy, and if there is room for doubt, let the prisoner have the benefit of it. Now let's see. I saw you on the beach the other morning, walking with such a duck of a rifleman. Oh, I see it all. She means me, of course, she does. Why, yellow boy, I do believe you are getting jealous, just a little jealous. Of course, she means me. I'm a rifleman. I'm a Piccadilly popgun. I did walk with Amelia the other morning on the beach. It was Monday morning, and I went to bed early on Sunday night. How shocking that sounds. Oh, dear me, none of the context is considered. You are too fastidious, Balderby. You are too particular. Drive over to Ramsgate with me, as I intend to pick up just such another. Of course. Old Balderby has seen me walking with my wife, and she wants to pick up just such another. Come, she's a cool hand. Balderby, I wish you may get it. There are plenty of them about. The devil there are. I flatter myself there ain't a pair of Wellingtons on Margate. Of course, Mr. Yellowby knows nothing. The deuce he doesn't. Oh, it's no good. I can't deceive myself any longer, but I'll find out the infernal villain. I'll dog him, and by Jove, I'll shoot him. No, I won't. I'll have him shot. Or stay, a more fearful vengeance still, a blood-curdling vengeance. Old Balderby wants a rifleman, and she shall have him. Ha, ha,
ha! Oh, this is a rum start, by Jupiter. Here I am, Jack Battersby, commercial traveller in hardware, not to say bagman to the first-rate house of Pogson and Blithers, Birmingham, and with a half a dozen yards of my pretty sister, whom I haven't set mine eyes on in years. When I state that I'm a commercial traveller, it must be distinctly understood that I'm a commercial traveller of refined and glorified description. It's my sacrilegious duty to visit the idolatrous islands of the Indian Ocean or other oceans and collect orders for the gods and goddesses supplied by hot by the aforesaid Pogson and Blithers. 3 long years have I been beating about the Indian Pacific, and here I am, again only too glad to set foot on civilized soil once more. Oh, poor little Amelia. She's married now, I hear. Married to old Yellow Boy, retired grocer and alderman, late of Cheapside, now of Clapham, Surrey. Wonder what sort of chap he is. I never saw him. Suppose I shall soon enough. Oh, how she will stare. She never know me in such a get-up. Rather a sweet thing in uniforms, this, and rather a sensation it created at the Tivoli ball last night. I was so struck with it that I've worn it ever since. Oh, what a ball that was. Oh, hang me if I can get that pretty débardeur out of my head. Oh, how she danced and how she pranced. I flatter myself that we showed them all the way. Oh, and that poor little devil of Richard Coeur de Lion, who had the benefit of paying for her ticket and enjoyed her society for about 5 minutes by way of compensation. Oh, she told me all about it afterwards. Oh, but where's Amelia? Oh, won't she jump when she sees me? She'll never know me behind this moustache. Oh, someone comes. Oh, it's my sister. Now I'll astonish her.
Now for Mrs. Balderby. I wonder where my ridiculous little husband is all this time. I sincerely trust his jealous little head is bursting with pain. Oh dear, who are you? What do you want?
Blood. Don't she know me?
No, who are you?
I'm the eldest son of the late Frederick the Great, but I am not proud, no. Shake hands. Minions say I am mad. Ha ha ha! Do I look mad?
Oh, certainly not.
Then why lock me up in a neighbouring asylum? Why flog me with whips? Why put me on a low diet? Isn't it preposterous?
Oh, no, nothing could be more unreasonable. May I ask the object of this visit?
I have already told you I've escaped from an asylum because do all I can. They will not give me blood. I want blood, and blood I must have. Why, don't you know me, Millie? Don't you know your own brother Jack Battersby?
Jack? I declare it is. Why, Jack, dear Jack, how you frightened me, but I'm so glad to see you. Where have you been all this time? What are you going? Where are you going to? And how long are you going to stay with us?
Well, I've been in Fiji, and I'm going to Birmingham, and I'm quite well, and I'm off tomorrow.
But this dress, Jack, what does it mean? Is this the usual costume of a hardware traveler in the Fiji Islands?
Not exactly, no. The national uniform consists principally of a neat tattoo. Fact is, I was at a fancy ball last night and borrowed this from Wilkinson, our London correspondent. Oh, I have my multifee in my bag, but I rather like the style of the thing, so I thought I'd come in and surprise you.
And you have surprised me. There, go along into Yellow Boy's dressing room and change your clothes, and then come with me to call on Mrs. Balderby. You remember Mrs. Balderby?
Oh, yes, I know old Balderby. But about Yellow Boy, you haven't told me a word about him. What's he like?
Well, he isn't handsome, you know, but he is very good and oh, so clever. What do you think he's engaged on now? Why, in editing the 123rd edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Isn't it a gigantic idea?
But I thought he was a grocer.
Once, now he's a distinguished author. There, now go away and don't be long. There's a dear boy. Yellow Boy will be back in a minute, and he'll be wanting me to stop with him, and I want so much to be alone with you. We haven't seen each other for such a while. It seems age since we met. We've so much to talk about, family matters, all that. Oh, there. Now go along. You must come and live very near us and see us very often. What a beautiful mustachio.
Oh, take care, Millie. Don't do that. It's not real.
Not real? What a pity. You must grow one just like it. I'll run and speak to the cook and be back before you're ready.
Ruffian, hound, catcher. I mean, sir, that I trust you will pardon me if I venture to say that that is a remarkably neat uniform, sir.
I'm very glad you like it. Where have I seen this little lunatic? I know his face. Oh, it's the preposterous little Richard Coeur de Lion, whose débardeur I took away from him last night.
Let me dissemble. Dear sir, the day is devilish fine.
He must have followed me here to get an explanation. Oh, it is, sir. Devilish, devilish. May I ask your business in this house?
In this house? He wants to know my business in this house. Gad, this is too cool. Do you know, sir, that you've been alienating the affections of my only wife?
His wife? The débardeur, his wife? Well, sir, if you are fool enough to take your wife to such a disreputable place, you must take the consequences.
Disreputable place, sir? How dare you accuse me of taking my wife to a disreputable place, sir?
Why, of course it is. You know that.
Sir, this is trifling. I want your blood.
Oh, so do I, and it's not worth having. Oh, why, what a sanguinary little pepper box it is.
Do you apply the expression pepper pot to me, sir?
I have a lady waiting for me whom I would not disappoint for the world.
Wife, but you shan't go.
Oh, get out.
Oh, am I awake? Or is it a dream? A hideous dream? Am I to stand by and see my wife coolly embraced? No, not if I know it. And what did he mean by saying that I should not take my wife to a disreputable places? Can it be that Mrs. Badger's establishment is not as correct as its character, as her references induced me to imagine? That is a question that is a question that shall very soon be set to rest. This comes of living in an apartment. Serves me right. It's just a punishment for my cursed economy.
Did you ring, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I did. Pray sit down. This is rather a delicate affair, and I must bring all my tact to bear upon it. I believe, Mrs. Badger, that you have kept a lodging establishment for many years?
Not for many years, oh no. Circumstances have not always obligated me to let seaside lodgings. Far from that, sir. It's only the departure of Badger that has been so reduced.
Departure of Badger? Oh, that he is gone?
Oh, yes, sir. 3 years since.
Good gracious, you astonish me. And when do you expect him back?
No, sir, not at all, I hope. I'm a widow, sir.
Oh, I see. Just so. And an uncommonly nice widow you are, too.
Sir.
Oh, well, this is irrelevant. Mrs. Badger, a ruffian has just been here who has, you will scarcely believe it, ventured to asperse the respectability of your establishment.
Sir.
Yes, it's dreadful, isn't it? I caught him kissing my wife, who of course resisted violently, and when I expostulated mildly, he told me that I was a fool to bring my wife to such a disreputable place as this. I mustn't be surprised at anything that happened to her. He implied, in short, that your establishment was no better than it ought to be.
It's my goodness gracious me. How dare you presume to insinuate that my establishment is no better than it ought to be?
Well, but is it?
Is it? Of course it is. A great deal better than it ought to be. Upon my word, sir, you're a pretty fellow coming here and take away the character of a hard-working, respectable widow. Oh, if Badger were alive, he doesn't do it. But Badger is dead, and well you know it.
Happy Badger.
But out of this house you pax this very day. Not a minute after 4 o'clock do you remain in it, you barrel of bad figs. No better than it ought to be.
Oh, here's a pretty state of things. My wife about to elope, myself involved in a duel with a feathered warrior of exaggerated dimensions, and both of us turned neck and crop out of our house because I was fool enough to believe the insidious idiot's misstatement. But I'll fight him, I will. But who's to take the message? I don't know a soul in Margate. Who's that? Oh, it must be the second floor. He shall take it. Hi, sir. You here?
Hey, what is it now?
Sir, have you a heart?
Why, of course I have. The circulation cannot be carried on without it.
No, of course not. Anatomically speaking, that is so, of course. But in addition to its normal functions, is yours the heart that can feel for another?
Well, what is the little lunatic driving at now?
Sir, I'm a total stranger here. A ruffian is about to elope with my wife, a rifleman, sir. An enormous rifleman, half a dozen inches taller than yourself. Blood must be spilled, sir. I must fight him. You must take the challenge. For understand me, sir, you must act as my friend on this occasion only.
Oh, you don't know me. I see it all now. I never knew a man asked to call himself out before. Oh, yes, sir. I'll take it.
Pardon me if I venture to remind you of the grave nature of the commission.
Oh, it's all right. I'll be as serious as you like. Where is it? I'll take it.
I'll write it in my dressing room and be back in a minute.
Well, this is about the queerest start I ever remember to have experienced. He's a lunatic who takes his wife to a fancy ball as a débardeur and then not only calls me out for dancing with her, but asks me to be, at the same time, his enemy and his friend.
Here I am. I hope I haven't kept you waiting. How altered you are without that ferocious moustache.
Yeah, and by the by, I've had an adventure. I've been challenged since I saw you.
Challenged? Oh, nonsense.
Nonsense, is it? but it's a fact nevertheless. Yes, a little lunatic has challenged me because I flirted at a ball last night with a green velvet débardeur who he swears is his wife.
But nobody's been here but Yellow Boy.
Yellow Boy?
Yes, my husband.
Small man, check suit, short red hair, tuft under his chin, bounceable way, rather mad.
Yes, that's it. Wellington Yellow Boy.
But you were not the little débardeur.
Little débardeur? No, of course not. What in the world are you talking about?
Nor yet the shepherdess.
No, of course not. What do you mean?
Oh, then it wasn't his wife I insulted. He said it was somebody's wife. I thought he said it was his own.
What? My Wellington at the ball last night with a green velvet débardeur who was somebody else's wife? Oh, it can't be.
Poor little devil.
But he was sitting in his study till 4 this morning, working at his gigantic task, the 123rd edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Oh, the little villain.
But why has he challenged you?
Because I eclipsed him in the affections of a green velvet débardeur at the ball last night.
Oh, John, what do I hear? Then my Wellington wasn't writing on his colossal idea until 4 this morning, and his preposterous behaviour wasn't the result of devoted attention to the articles shepherdess, sherry, soda water, soft nothings, and Sir Roger de Coverley.
I wouldn't be sure about that either.
Oh, I'm a miserable woman now.
Oh, never mind, Millie. I'll cure him.
My very dear sir, here is the fearful document. What the deuce? At it again, Amelia, and with the second floor who is going to take my challenge? Why, sir, you're as bad as the rifleman.
Mr. Yellowboy, don't be absurd.
Amelia, may I inquire how many more people in Margate enjoy the privilege of squeezing you round the waist, besides the rifleman, the second floor, and myself?
Really? I'm at a loss to understand you, sir.
Oh, are you? Then I'll make myself plain.
Oh, where has he gone, I wonder?
To Hanwell, I hope.
There, ma'am. That's what I mean, that pair of braided trousers. I find these pantomime breeches in my dressing room, ma'am. In my dressing room.
Why, how absurd of you to order such clothes. I, for one, will never walk out with you in them.
Mine, ma'am? Don't talk damn absurd nonsense. They belong either to that ridiculously tagged and braided volunteer whom I saw kissing you, or to yourself, Mrs. Yellowboy. As for the volunteer, I'm going to shoot him. My very dear friend, the second floor, is going to call him out, ain't you, sir?
Be sure I am, with all the pleasure in life.
Thank you, my dear sir. You are a fine gentleman, and as such sympathize with a deceived and trusting husband. But I forgot. What were you hugging my wife for just now? Hang it all, explain yourself, sir.
Do nothing of the kind, Jack. If Mr. Yellowboy is so mean-spirited as to suspect me of impropriety, it is only fit that he should be punished for his injustice by remaining a little longer in suspense.
Mrs. Yellowboy, for once and all, I insist upon knowing all about the infernal volunteer whom I caught you kissing and hugging in this room 20 minutes ago, and also the immortal second floor whom I also caught you kissing and hugging not 10 minutes ago.
Sir, I have already told you that I shall not condescend to enter into any particulars.
Oh, Amelia, have I deserved this? When night after night, I've been innocently engaged, you know how.
Alas, I do. Too well.
And to think, Amelia, that you should have been base enough to take advantage of my studious habits to cultivate an intrigue with that detestable warrior and that unholy second floor.
Mr. Yellowboy, as I have had quite enough of this rhodomontade, I shall go out.
Very good, ma'am. In the meantime, I will annihilate the rifleman, and when I've killed him, I'll get him to call out the second floor.
You will, of course, act as you think proper. But here comes one of your victims. Pray be merciful.
Here he is. Now I've got you. Say your prayers before you die.
Get out!
I demand satisfaction, sir. You've insulted this lady, sir. This lady.
But this lady isn't the green velvet débardeur or the little Watteau shepherdess.
Hold your tongue. That's my wife. Don't say a word about the débardeur and the shepherdess, and I'll forgive you all.
What is this all about? Débardeurs and shepherdesses?
Why, this little villain wants to call me out because he says I flirted with his wife at a fancy ball last night.
No, she wasn't my wife. I mean, how dare you insinuate that I was at the fancy ball last night?
It's impossible. Mr. Yellowboy was busy last night with the following articles: shepherdess, sherry, sandwiches, salad, soda water, soft nothings, and Sir Richard de Coverley.
Oh, no, I'm quite sure he was there as Richard Coeur de Lion.
Who was Richard Coeur de Lion?
A gentleman who wore a 4 and 9 of this description. I found it in your dressing room. Sweet thing in hats, isn't it?
Well, Mr. Yellowboy, a pretty figure you must have looked in that thing.
Nothing of the kind, ma'am. I've been recommended to wear it for the toothache. But one thing at a time. Mrs. Yellowboy, read that note, ma'am.
Well, and what of it?
She asked me what of it. What of it, ma'am? Why, what of the duck of a rifleman with whom you were seen on the beach this morning? And I think I am justified in assuming that that young man in the tomfool dress is the citizen in question.
That? Well, that is my brother, Jack.
That Jack Battersby? Oh, Lord, why, Jack, who'd have thought of seeing you? Why didn't you tell me you were Jack Battersby before? It would have saved you all.
But you didn't ask me.
But I say, how's business, eh? Pretty brisk, eh? Goddess is looking up. I hope that's all right. But now that everything is comfortably cleared up, why, let us be happy together. Hold hard, though. It isn't all comfortably cleared up. It's very far from being comfortably cleared up. I don't see my way through this letter yet. If Jack Battersby isn't the duck of the rifleman, perhaps you'll be good enough to tell me who is. Where is he, madam?
In the adjoining room.
Then produce him instantly. Here, Amelia, hold on. I've got his trousers somewhere here. You can't bring him in without them, you know.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Yellowboy, but he never wears them. Allow me to introduce you to the object of your jealousy. My last new rifleman's jacket. But please don't shoot him, as he cost £4.10.
I'm afraid I look very like an ass. But stop it, ma'am. Where is the affectionate second floor?
Here he is.
Oh, you infernal scoundrel. Perhaps you will explain how, but... Hello? I forgot you're Jack Battersby still, ain't you? Why, of course you are.
Well, upon my word, you've done your best in the course of last half an hour to make me think I'm somebody else.
Well, all square at last. And as I said before, let us be happy together.
Not so fast, Mr. Yellowboy. Now, I want to know a little more about the green velvet débardeur and the Watteau shepherdess.
Well, Amelia, I'll confess all. The fact is that the gigantic idea upon which I have been engaged nightly for the last year requires that I should visit, much against my will, all sorts of places in order to acquire a knowledge of men and things, bal marqués in particular. But I'll tell you what I'll do if you'll forgive me. I'll give up my gigantic idea and send the Encyclopedia Britannica to the butterman to be a devoted husband ever after. And curtain.
Oh,
Oh, that's very fun. Thank
How
you.
silly can you get?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take another, say, 5 minutes before we launch the final one.
okay.
Great, great. Yes, thank you. This is a lot of fun hearing these and the people who get the most outraged about people misbehaving are the ones who are generally misbehaving themselves.
Yes. Very often.
Well, that's Gilbert's. Oh, I can't. I'm not committed. Well, actually, I'm not. I was about to say, yeah, Gilbert specialized in that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and it is, I mean, sorts of using theater as a way to to make fun of certain people, or also to get, I mean, especially with the previous one with Shaw, I mean, for his socialism, and to get ideas about, really, you're worth 66 times more than he is. There's a lot of issues that we've been dealing with for more than 100 years, and we're just like, seems like we're further away from solutions than we were when we started. But in any event, this is a lot of fun and good things to do. And as I say, we've also got the Instant Shakespeare Company next 2 Saturdays. We're going to be having in-person readings with the Taming of the Shrew at the Columbus Library on 10th Avenue and 51st Street. And then on the 26th, we're doing a reading of Much Ado About Nothing at the Yorkville Library on the east side, 228 East 79th, I hope. But those are that, and we also have some Zoom readings coming up, of course, as well. We've got then the next Thursday, we're doing Titus Andronicus at 7:30 p.m. And the following Thursday, we're doing Two Noble Kinsmen. So we've got plenty of stuff, and we're always eager to have more participants as we do more, as we work on getting through our 24th season, all of the plays of Shakespeare. And we've got a lot of people who've been doing it for a number of years, and so I've got to, at some point, going to count up, because I think we're probably getting close to having done like 1,000 readings since at least 40 a year for 25 years. So and I'm also got my other books coming out, my workbooks, in addition to the monologue books. Yeah, we've got to pause. We can't stop a live stream, so this is also one of the things I've worked on recently, which is taking Neil Freeman's work from his massive, huge volumes, 3 volumes of Once More Unto the Speech, Dear Friends, which are these huge books, into more easier used books about how the first folio can help you. Okay, well, we're back. Here's David. So I'm very interested in our next selection.
Oh, I think I should change my name, shouldn't I?
Oh yes, and I need to change David's, don't I?
I can remember where to do it. Oh, up here, I think. Yes. Voila. Okay.
Oh, yeah. What did I say, 25 after or 20 after?
I think you said 20.
20.
Oh, but then we're here.
We're here.
Are we all ready? Is Drew here?
I'm here.
Okay, good. This Madison Morton piece is called "Taken from the French," and the setting is Sir Felix Fritterly's country house, a handsomely furnished apartment, bay window, practicable, with curtains. In the conservatory doors, there's a couch at right center. There's chairs, a piano. The colonel is discovered lying on the couch, asleep.
He was still asleep, and yet I must wake him.
Come in. Oh, it's you. For goodness sake, Arthur, don't make such an infernal noise. Do you want to dislocate that implement of torture?
Don't you like it, Uncle? I thought you were fond of music.
You don't call that music, do you? I accept your friend Fritterly's invitation to his country house for a few weeks' quiet. And
Well, you've got it, haven't you?
don't interrupt me.
I was merely anticipating.
Who the deuce wants you to anticipate? Take things as I do and wait till they come round. My idea of a quiet life is to get up at 11 when the world has been thoroughly aired by that beneficent warming pan, the sun. Next, breakfast at 12. 12's a lovely hour for breakfast. Have the morning papers all to yourself and escape being dragged around the grounds like the rest of the visitors to see the early peas and the asparagus beds and spring onions.
Well, what's next?
Breakfast over, a quiet nap, a bit of lunch at 3, a heavenly slumber till dinner time at 7, a cup of coffee, a cigar, and to bed at 10. That's my idea of a rational, peaceful existence.
You'd better by half shoulder your gun and have a pop at the partridges.
Thank you. I never went out with a gun but once in my life, and then I shot a couple of dogs and a gamekeeper. So I gave it up. For if I'd gone on as I'd begun, dogs and gamekeepers would have been at a premium long before this.
Oh, it's a bad business for you, Uncle, that you didn't take a wife.
It would have been a precious deal worse for my wife if I had.
Well, everyone has his taste. What you call existence, I call a state of positive torpidity. It may suit you, but at my age, man hungers and thirsts after a little more excitement.
Then why the deuce don't you take it? Go out fishing in the duck pond, or go and see the cows milked, or the pigs fed, or better still, there's no end of excitement for you under your very nose.
Where?
Well, at the window. Gardener always at work, rolling the lawn, or watering the flowers, or picking up worms, or killing slugs, and without the slightest fatigue for you. All you have to do is to settle yourself down at the window.
Settle down, eh? My dear uncle, that's the very thing I wanted to do. In a word, Myrtle Vane, Lady Fritterly's sister.
The old story again, eh? Lady Fritterly's sister is a nicest sort of girl.
Nicest sort of girl, she's an angel.
Rubbish. Besides, as I said before, you're too young to marry yet. Wait another 10 or 15 years and then begin to look about you. You haven't popped, have you?
Popped?
Proposed.
Oh, no.
Then how do you know she'd have you?
Well, of course I don't know, but I think she might.
Oh, there's a conceited young puppy for you.
Especially if you'll encourage my intentions, like my dear, kind old uncle.
Which your dear, kind old uncle doesn't intend to do.
You don't, eh? Very well, then listen to me. I shall do something desperate.
Wait till I get out of the room. I thought as much. Going like a windmill. in a gale of wind. This excitement's too much for me. I must take a sedative. And now, young fellow, listen to me. If you are anxious to settle, as you say, as you call it, better begin with your bootmaker. In a word, you don't marry yet with my consent. Marry without it, and I leave every shilling I've got to the Society for the Suppression of Virtue. I mean, the propagation of vice, and I don't know what I'm talking about.
Just as easy to argue him out of his prejudices as it would be to make a Quaker kick his mother's. Oh, here comes Myrtle. Oh, what a contrast. He all apathy, she all impetuosity. Of course, I shall have to give her an account of my morning's employment, as usual, which consists of breakfast, 3 slices of toast, a rasher of bacon, a couple of eggs, and a cup of coffee. And not a bad morning's work either.
Good morning, Mr. Vance. Has nature no attractions for you that you remain indoors such a lovely day as this? Following your uncle's example as usual, I presume.
No, on the contrary, I've been hard at work, very hard at work, I assure you, trying to reduce my uncle's bump of obstinacy.
But in vain. The protuberance defied your efforts. And has that been your entire morning's work?
Physically, yes. Mentally, no.
Well, the physical we'll dismiss. The mental consisting of reading the newspaper, eh?
What can a man do in such weather as this? It's too hot to walk, too early for billiards, only fit for smoking. By the by, I did manage to get as far as the stables, where I had a cigar.
And this is the new leaf you promised me return over. A tobacco leaf. You are sadly deficient in energy, Mr. Valence.
I confess it. But brought up as I was from my earliest infancy under my uncle.
Under your uncle?
Yes. No, of course not. I mean, under his supervision. How can I be otherwise than I am? He resents the slightest approach to activity as a slur on himself. And the highest compliment you can pay him is to yawn in his face.
I beg pardon. I'm afraid I'm in the way.
Oh, no, not at all. But why are you in such a hurry to go?
To allow you more leisure for,
Oh, Myrtle. Do you object to my calling you Myrtle?
You should have asked me for the question before you did.
If my tongue had been silent, surely my eyes have spoken for me.
Mr. Valence, you forget yourself.
Because I was thinking of you.
This is getting too serious. But you really must excuse me. I have my plants to attend to. A favorite creeper, especially, that requires nailing up.
Let me go with you. I'll make myself useful. You'll see how hard I'll work. Yes, I'll hold the ladder for you and hand you up the hammer and tin tacks.
What an exertion! And all for me.
Oh, I see how it is, madam. You have no feeling, or you would treat me so cruelly and so capriciously. If you had the slightest particle of regard for me, you'd let me hand you up a hammer and tin tacks.
You accuse me of caprice. You, who never knew what it is to be in earnest.
I am so now, I assure you.
But then listen to me, Arthur Valence. Let me see that you possess some energy, some enthusiasm, some strength of will. Then I may, perhaps, give you a better answer. Good morning.
No, stop, Myrtle. Do let me come up and hand you a hammer and tin tacks. Oh, so, I'm to do something energetic, am I? Drown myself in a duck pond, yes. No, I have it. I'll say goodbye to Fritterly and cut his place at once. And then, Miss Vane, perhaps you'll be sorry. Perhaps you'll regret that you didn't let me hand you up the hammer and tin tacks. Let me see. Oh, there's express in town at 3. I can catch that, and my trap can follow.
Oh, hello, old fellow. Where the deuce are you off to in such a hurry?
Don't ask me, I'm going out of my mind.
The deuce you are. Well, if I may judge by appearances, it won't take you very long to get to the end of that journey. Confound it, man. Will you explain?
Well, you know the feelings I tend to entertain towards Miss Vane.
Myrtle? Yes.
Well, you'll hardly believe it, but when I proposed to her just now that,
You proposed to her?
yes, that I'd hand her up a hammer and tin tacks.
Hammer and tin tacks? What the deuce are you talking about?
I'm sure I don't know. Oh, yes, I do. She said that when I showed a little energy, little enthusiasm, a little something else, she'd perhaps give me a better answer.
A better answer? What on earth can that mean?
I can't tell. Oh, yes, I can. Of course. It can only mean one thing, that she will let me hand her up a hammer.
Confound it, drop that hammer. You've been hammering that hammer into my ears for the last 10 minutes. Now, speak like a man of sense, if you've got any left in you.
Well, then I ventured to speak to my uncle.
Old Cozy?
Yes, old Cozy, about Myrtle. And he coolly told me that I mustn't think of getting married for at least 10 or 15 years.
Come, I like that.
Oh, do you? It's a little more than I do. Unless, he said, he saw some urgent necessity for it. But that if I'm married without his consent, he disinherit me.
Is that all?
All? It strikes me as being quite enough. Oh, no, it isn't all. It's only half. For Myrtle.
Oh, never mind Myrtle. I know all about her. She thinks you a bit of a milksop. So do I. That you've no energy, not an atom. No will of your own, never had. And that in order to reinstate yourself in her good opinion, you must do something desperate. So you shall. Now, what do you mean to do?
Show a proper spirit and run away.
Run away? Certainly not. Fling yourself into my arms and I'll pull you through. So cheer up.
Oh, it's very easy to say cheer up to a fellow who feels himself between two stools with the certainty of coming down a cropper.
Well, what's the use of giving you advice? You'd never follow it. You haven't the pluck to do anything desperate.
Oh, I told my uncle I would. But I'm not going to make away with myself merely to prove that I'm a man of my word.
Sure. Now, let's understand each other. Myrtle insists on your giving her a convincing proof of energy, pluck, determination, and all that sort of thing. You're not limited as to the direction they may take.
Not at all.
Good. And your uncle refuses his consent to your marriage unless he sees some urgent necessity for it.
Exactly.
Then the same medicine will do for both. Old Cozy has a great regard for propriety and morality and all that sort of thing, hasn't he?
Intense.
Then we'll give him such a shock on that score, he'll think that his opposition to your wishes has driven you frantic with despair.
But Myrtle?
Has only to imagine there's a chance of your turning out a naughty, good-for-nothing reprobate, and she'll be only too glad to reclaim her lost sheep at once.
What then?
Oh, then we must borrow a wrinkle from the French. As your uncle won't hear of your taking a wife of your own, take somebody else's, no matter whose. Take mine, she's the handiest.
Don't be absurd.
I'm perfectly serious. All your uncle wants is you to snooze away his existence. We must wake the old boy up.
How?
By an elopement, a pretended one, of course, which you shall propose to my wife, and he shall overhear.
I propose an elopement to Lady Fritterly. She'll be indignant.
How do you know that? She may feel flattered. At any rate, I'll take all the responsibility. You may be as fascinating as you choose.
Man alive, I'm not in the habit of running away with other people's wives. I should know how to begin. Something in this style. Please, ma'am, will you run away with me?
Oh, not half tender enough. Loveliest of women. Then down on your knee, it don't matter which, both if you like, then exclaim, oh, my bosom's torn with conflicting emotions. My brain is in a whirlwind of agony and despair, tearing your hair out by the handfuls all the time. Don't forget that.
Oh, stop. Don't be in such a confounded hurry. Let me see. Loveliest of women, 1. Conflicting emotions, 2. Agony, 3. Despair, 4. Can't you make it 5, 1 on each finger?
5. The elopement. There, you must come out a little stronger. Let us fly, loved one. Horses are in readiness to bear us to the nearest station where the flashing express shall whirl us to anywhere you like. Madagascar, Seringapatam, Pegwell Bay, no matter.
Oh, that's the style, is it? By Jove, I've half a mind to chance it. But when is this precious scheme of ours to come off?
At once. As soon as I can secure the presence of my wife and old Cozy as a listener. He always takes a nap on the couch when the coast is clear. There. Now, you take a stroll in the grounds. I'll hide behind the window, the curtains, and give you the signal to come in. Be off.
Wait a minute. Loveliest of women, conflicting emotions, agony, pagany. No, pagany, despair. Let me see. What was the little finger?
Elopement.
Right.
He's gone at last. I ought to have been born in an atmosphere of diplomacy to develop my talent for intrigue. How this little game of mine will astonish them. But they all want waking up in this house. Cozy's an old hedgehog, all prickles and prejudices. Arthur's, never mind what. Myrtle's a crabapple, pleasant to look at, but occasionally rather tart to the taste. As for my wife, she's a charming woman, but she has her one fault for which I'd gladly exchange a good many of her virtues. She's so dreadfully proper. Shall I take her into my confidence? No, she hates jokes, especially mine. How she will stare when Arthur opens his batteries. Run away with my wife. The notion's too absurd.
So, husband of mine. Felix,
Oh, Grace! I wonder if she overheard.
you seem merry, laughing at your own jokes. Quite right, you should, but nobody else does.
Thank you. All right, she didn't hear anything. Perhaps I'd better prepare her just a little bit, or she might petrify poor Arthur with one of her tragedy looks before he opens his mouth, and then he'd take to his heels to a certainty. Oh, by the by, my dear Grace, have you noticed anything peculiar in young Valence's behavior lately?
No, he seems as apathetic as ever. He may perhaps have shown a little more attention to me than usual.
The deuce he has. I wonder what she'll say presently when he comes out with his agony and despair. I don't mean his behavior to you, but to Myrtle. He's not half so spoony. I mean, attentive as he used to be, and I fear there's a reason for it.
Indeed.
Yes, he may be smitten with somebody else. At his age, the affections are fickle, volatile, skipping like a flea.
Felix.
I mean, sipping like a bee from flower to flower. Myrtle is, well, young, very young, but even youth like hers may become insipid. The love of every precocious boy of 15 is a woman of 30. I began at 12.
A woman of 30. My age. Understand, sir, that no woman cares to be reminded of her age when she has turned 30 any more than that she wears false hair. Your remark, therefore, is scarcely polite. But with your wife, it appears you consider no such politeness necessary.
Politeness? My dear Grace, what is politeness after all? Merely the gloss of society. I suppose you'll admit that the shiny stuff they put on the top of the buns doesn't make them taste any the sweeter.
Spare me your absurd similes, and don't mistake flippancy for wit.
That's a dig in the ribs for me. But we are wandering from our subject. Do you think Myrtle loves Valence at all?
I fancy she likes him well enough.
Well enough won't do. She must like him a great deal better, as I believe she would if we could only make her just a little bit jealous.
Perhaps so, but how? My lady's maid is no beauty. The housemaid's no chicken. Well, the cook's too fat. But there's no one else.
Oh, no. Exactly. Are you going out this morning?
Yes, unless you wish for the pleasure of my society here.
Well, it would be a novelty.
And you promise to spare me the infliction of those melancholy exhibitions which you call jokes?
I'll be as dull as an undertaker. Suppose you put a few stitches into that smoking cap of mine, which has been your sole occupation in needlework for the last 2 years and a half?
Be it so. It's in my room. I'll fetch it. So he's evidently got some little game on hand, which it will be my business to find out. Ta-ta!
A poor, unsuspecting innocent. It's too bad to take advantage of her simplicity. Ah, here comes old Cozy for his 40 winks. Better and better. But he mustn't see me.
Nobody here. I've got it all to myself. That's just what I like. I was afraid of meeting Fritterly. He's a pleasant fellow enough, but in his way, but I prefer being out of his way. To be within the sound of his voice is like living over a printing office, one continual clatter. Now, for a little solitary rumination, there's nothing equals it. Look at a cow, how she enjoys it. And isn't she the most peaceful of all animals? Who ever heard of a cow in a passion? See, the touching resignation with which she allows herself to be milked. I wish Arthur had more of that docile animal in his composition. He wouldn't talk of doing something desperate. Now then, for a delicious nap.
Thank you, Colonel, for your flattering opinion of me, but I'll be even with you. I wonder if he's asleep. Yes, sound as a top. Now then, to call in Arthur, stop a bit. Let me first perform the part of the benevolent Robin in The Babes in the Wood and cover the sleeping beauty up. There. Now for Arthur. Oh, all right, he sees me.
Well, you still stick to your plan.
Like a horse leech, my wife will be here directly.
But Uncle Cozy?
Oh, comfortably tucked in there, to be roused from the land of dreams when the proper time arrives with this implement. Sure you've got your part in this little domestic drama by heart? Rehearse.
Loveliest of women. Emotions. Agony. Sanguipatum. Despair. Pegwell Bay.
Keep on going over it like the multiplication table, but hang it, man, don't look at as lively as if you were waiting on the dentist's back parlor. Oh, here comes my wife.
Mr. Valence,
Lady Fritterly?
the ball is about to open. Won't you be seated? A lovely morning, is it not?
Delicious.
Quite cool and pleasant.
I feel quite hot and unpleasant.
By the by, do you know where my husband is?
Not exactly, but I believe he's somewhere or other, or if not there, somewhere else.
Idiot.
He's there, the traitor. I'm sure I ought to feel deeply grateful to him for leaving so agreeable a substitute.
That ought to encourage him.
Oh, it's time I began. If I'm going to begin at all. Oh, Lady Fritterly, pardon my agitation, but agitated as I am with agitations that agitate me, the agony, the despair. Oh, I shall stick fast presently. I know I shall.
That's better.
But say you forgive me.
Forgive you? For what?
For the confession which, alas, I am about to make.
Oh, continue, I beg.
Oh, madam, dear madam, dearest madam, if you only knew all.
Oh, a gentleman of your acquaintance.
I didn't say hall, madam. Let me observe, Lady Fritterly, that this is no subject for levity.
No one would imagine it was from your countenance, Mr. Valence. Its solemnity is positively painfully ludicrous.
Why the deuce don't he open his batteries?
Well, since you will insist upon it, here goes. Loveliest of women, pardon the apparent insanity of the remark. I love you. I adore you. In fact, I rather like you. Behold me at your feet.
Love me, Mr. Valence? So this is their little game, is it? Well, is that all?
All? And pretty well, too, I think. What the deuce would she have? No, madam, it is not all. I've only just begun. Oh, could you but know the conflicting emotions, the agony, the despair. Oh, I forgot the rest. Say that you love me in return.
Oh, Mr. Valence, you're too vehement. Release my hand.
She'll release her hand. Come, I like that. I wish she'd let go of mine. Release this hand, or not till I've finished. Loved one, let us fly. Horses are waiting. Flashing express, distant climb, Seringapatam, Madagascar, the Sandwich Islands, anywhere.
Oh, sudden faintness. Oh, support me.
Oh, hello.
Oh, Arthur.
Damn it, she calls him Arthur.
I've been getting on too fast.
Spare my blushes. I guess all you would say.
Oh, do you? That's lucky, for I'm regularly stumped.
Listen, my husband is not unkind, though he may be kinder. He's not ill looking. Indeed, he might be uglier, but he has one terrible defect. He really flatters himself that he possesses a fund of wit, that he is literally running over with fun, whereas the poor man really doesn't possess a single particle of either. It's very sad, isn't it?
It's melancholy in the extreme.
And I'm sure, as for humor,
He's just about as much in him as an old cab horse.
but alas, for every one of his dismal jokes that you hear, I am doomed to hear 100. Is it to be wondered at, then, that I should pant, crave for a change, that I should find the temptation you offer me too great to resist?
Eh? What, you mean to say that you consent?
Of course I do. What woman could resist the Sandwich Islands and you for a companion? In 5 minutes, expect me here on this spot. Give me but time to pack up my jewels, a dozen or two dresses, and a sprinkling of hats, and I'll be with you, my Arthur. You won't mind my bringing my favorite little pug dog, of course you won't. And a couple of kittens, 1,000 thanks. And you won't object to putting the parrot cage under your arm? Oh, I thought not.
Parrot cage under my arm all the way to the Sandwich Islands? No, stop, madam. Lady Fridley, don't hurry yourself. Take your time. 1 hour, 2 hours, 6 weeks, any time you like. Oh, here's a pretty state of affairs. Catch me running off with another man's couple of kittens. Wives. No, wife again. Who, Sir Felix? A pretty kettle of fish he's made of it. Oh, I've been too fascinating.
Oh, don't talk nonsense, sir. But of course this is all a joke. Why don't you say it's all a joke?
It's anything but a joke for me. All the way to the Sandwich Islands with a parrot cage under my arm. How would you like it?
Pshaw, you carry the thing too far, sir. A devilish deal too far.
How am I like that? I only did what you told me. Except I didn't tear my hair out by the handfuls.
Oh, 120 at the very least. Oh, just- Now, sir, what do you mean by making love to Lady Fretterly and proposing an elopement with her? It's scandalous, sir.
Not the slightest doubt about it, Uncle, but I only did it to oblige Sir Felix.
Sir Felix, by running off with his wife?
Yes, in order to show you what a desperate dog I have become, so that you might put me out of the way of temptation by consenting to my marriage with Myrtle. But now, that's all knocked on the head.
Oh, how so?
Because, my dear fellow, your wife having accepted, I am bound as a man of honor to run away with her.
Of course, as a man of honor, we are bound to run away with her.
A lady for whom I entertain the highest respect.
A lady for whom we entertain the highest respect.
But for whom I don't care two pins.
But for whom we don't care two pins.
You needn't be insulting by associating Lady Flitterly with that paltry amount of haberdashery.
Oh, I should be in a raging fever presently. What's to be done? Recollect you've got to ascertain when the next train starts for the Sandwich Islands.
Oh, hang it, Sir Felix. Can't you suggest something? I look to you with your extravagant devices to extricate me.
Yes, sir. We insist on your extricating us from your extravagant devices.
Well, I confess I've made a slight mistake this time, but all isn't lost. Lady Fritterly will be here directly. When I flatter myself, she'll hear something to her advantage. Oh, here comes Myrtle. Couldn't be better. Now then, hide yourselves, both of you.
Certainly not.
Certainly not.
Another of your infernal schemes. But if this fails, I really shall do something desperate.
My system won't survive this sort of thing. I'm sure it won't.
Now, Colonel, onto your couch before Myrtle sees you.
I don't want to go to sleep. I'm thoroughly wide awake.
Nonsense.
Tuck me up if you like, but confound it, don't smother me.
Sir Felix.
Sir Felix.
Silence, both of you.
Grace has told me all, and I am to humor the joke, which she watches the result from conservatory.
Now for it. Myrtle, in me you behold a broken-hearted husband.
Very well acted indeed. Broken-hearted.
When I say broken-hearted, I don't wish you to infer that the center of my organic functions is snapped in half like a stick of firewood. Far from it, Myrtle. But I'm broken-hearted for all that.
Absurd. While you have Grace and me to console you.
Grace no longer. She has deserted me, and for young Valence. She's there. Yes, Myrtle, I'm a wretched, abandoned man.
You can't be serious.
It's too true.
What do you intend doing?
I did think of shooting the young man, but it'll be a far greater punishment to let him live. Think what the poor unhappy youth will have to suffer from Grace's little bits of temper. Poor devil. I know what I had to go through.
But surely you will try and prevent Grace's departure.
I think not. Better as it is. I'm getting used to the idea. I confess it was I who advised Valence to make just a certain little amount of love to my wife in order to excite your jealousy and show you what energy the young man was capable of. But I confess I was not at all prepared for the perfect torrent of impassioned eloquence with which he poured forth his unhallowed flame. Besides, Myrtle, dear Myrtle, as you very sensibly observed just now, shall I not have you to console me?
Me?
Well, why not? Your lover doesn't care a pin's point about you, or he wouldn't have agreed to my plan. My wife has about the same amount of affection for me. or she'd have withered him up with her scorn at the first go-off. This sort of thing.
Well, what then?
Can you ask? Oh, my Myrtle, my beloved Myrtle, behold me at your feet. If grace stands this, I'm a New Zealander.
Monster!
So, Sir Felix Fritterly,
Surely, my dear Grace, you didn't really think I was in earnest.
As much in earnest, probably, as you thought me.
well, then you don't love me after all. You won't insist on my accompanying you to the Sandwich Islands.
Mr. Valons. Well, I confess, you, my dear, have the best of the game.
And the last laugh.
Myrtle, have I fulfilled your conditions? Have I shown some little amount of energy?
Yes, with a vengeance.
And may I hope...
Have him now, Myrtle, while you can get him.
Keep her to her promise, Mr. Valons.
Gladly. But it all depends on my uncle. How soon?
Oh, then he shall decide at once. Turn out, old tortoise. Hang me if he isn't fast asleep. Wake up!
You're right. Bring me my shaving water. Hello?
Have you forgotten all about the elopement, uncle?
Elopement? Why, you ought to have been halfway to the Sandwich Islands by this time.
We've arranged that little matter differently.
Then what the deuce did you wake me up for?
To let you go off to sleep again in a more comfortable frame of mind.
Come, Colonel. Arthur's desperately in love with Myrtle.
And Myrtle's over head and ears in love with
Felix.
herself. They only wait your benediction.
Bother the benediction. I'll settle 1,000 a year on them.
The most sensible thing you've said for a long time. And now you may go to sleep again as soon as you like.
90. That's better.
But a word at parting here. How account for our eccentric behavior? Shall we boldly forestall the critics and say at once,
Quite foreign in sentiment.
Obviously borrowed from our lively neighbours.
Possessing all their levity with regard to those domestic ties.
In short, taken from the French.
And curtain. It's always been customary in so many other Victorian farces. At the very end, just speak to the audience.
Yes, well done, well done. Thank you.
Thank
that
you.
was a
That
lot
was
of fun.
fun.
That was fun.
It was a nice
Mhm.
grouping of plays, David.
I mean,
Mhm.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry. Christina,
Sorry,
what did you just say? I'm sorry.
I just said that was a nice grouping of plays. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, it was. I
Yeah.
agree.
It's fun trying to put things together like that, you know, make a little program.
Yes, so this was a good one, and yeah, just finishing right before 3 o'clock. So thank you all very much. That was fun.
Short one.
And then sometime we're going to get to the the longer Shaw.
Yeah, we'll do Heartbreak House again.
We're going to get to it. I just, you know, I was hoping to do Arms and the Man, but I just couldn't get the right cast, and I'm very fussy about it. So.